You said that Grogu was with Luke Skywalker for many years.
I think somewhere in there, somewhere more than one and less than, somewhere between 1 and 2, 0 and 2 years.
Oh, so not that many years.
No, not that many.
So did
run out of screen time? We know we only have 30 years to tell all our stories, so we have a lot more stories to tell.
Well, Mando is back, and straight away we are shown that the Mandalorians are just a weird cult that abuses children. Now, after sitting through the horrible Book of Boba Fett and the somehow worse Obi-Wan Kenobi show, I was ready to give the Mandalorian another shot. They weren't really hurting past characters, and at least it looked like Star Wars. But it didn't take long for the stupidity to start. So we start with Queen Mandalorian grinding away on the next cosplay creation. I joked that wouldn't it be funny if when she turned around, she had a small helmet for Grogu. So when she did turn around with a small helmet, I did actually laugh out loud. But it was just a gotcha, followed by another gotcha where we think we may be watching the young Mando get initiated into the worst gang of all time. But no, grown-up Mando turns up to save the day, so the little kid isn't him at all. Now, if you didn't watch the Book of Boba Fett, good choice. It was absolute crap. But it did turn into the Mando show, so it's a bit confusing if you didn't watch it. It's also confusing if you did watch it, because Queen Mando's whole story's changed since then. Last we saw of her, she was living under a space station, and we found out there were only 3 members of her Mandalorian's tribe left.
I am sorry for your sacrifice.
There are 3 of us now.
Now she's in a cave, and not only are there heaps of Mandos, they even have several Mando kids to abuse.
Young ones, to the cave!
None of this time and location jump is explained. But don't worry, the odd time jump and location changes get a lot worse. But, as usual, we'll come back to that. We are witnessing a Mandalorian initiation where a child has his custom helmet put on, which is told can never be removed.
From this moment on, I shall never remove my helmet.
How does that little helmet work on a fast-growing child? Is it like when you're a kid and your mum pushes on your toes to see if your shoes are getting too small? Does Queen Mando push on the sides of this kid's head to see if he needs a bigger helmet? While we're on the kids with helmets, having children don a helmet that they are never allowed to remove not only seems stupid, it also feels excessively cruel. I would have thought that having 18-year-olds making the decision to join the violent priesthood would make the Mandalorians more likable as a viewer. Unlike men joining the priesthood, it would create more interesting stories, going through the emotions of teenage love or the breakup of family bonds before choosing the helmet lifestyle. Be nice to have a sense that these men and women have made sacrifices that they understand before joining the forever hidden lifestyle would make for an interesting story. But locking kids away under helmets and brainwashing them doesn't make for the most sympathetic group. It makes Mando and his type seem like a bunch of pricks. I have to admit, after dealing with this type of craziness, I like to get outside for a while. Now, I know what you're thinking. Robothead, you have an incredible lifestyle and live in a place where the sun always shines. Which is true for most of the country. Most of the country will let you lie in the sun all day, or will try and kill you if you stay outside too long. But I'm lucky enough to live in a part of the country where you can be getting sunburnt one minute, and the next it's pouring down rain. Isn't that right, Thor?
No, Melbourne, rain increasing, 16. Hello, all my friends in Melbourne. I'm from Melbourne. I'm a Victorian. But that rain, get your brollies out as well, I reckon.
So you have to be prepared, and that's where the wonderful Vessi come in. Vessi were kind enough to send me a pair of their newly released Stormbursts. These shoes are not only extremely comfortable, they are completely waterproof. So no matter what this crazy city throws at me, my feet stay warm and dry. Whether you're taking the dogs for a walk, going for a hike, spilling drinks at the bar, or just heading out on a sunny day in Melbourne where it could rain at any second,
downpour came quickly.
Vessi have you covered. Vessi shoes are made from Dymatex, a dual climate knit material that keeps you cool in summer and warm in colder weather. They are comfortable, durable and breathable. Actually feels like they shouldn't be waterproof at all. Check out Vessi Stormburst and other styles at vessi.com/robothead and use the code robothead and you'll get 15% off your entire order. Go to Vessi today and you can decide when you want to get wet.
I swear on my name and the names of the ancestors
I swear on my name and the names of the ancestors
that I shall walk the way of the Mandalore.
And where the hell are these kids coming from? Do they kidnap them? Or do the Mandos just breed flat out? And the biggest question of all, of course, is if the Mandalorians are having sex, do they do it with the helmets on? They must.
This is the way.
See, this is the reason why it's sometimes stupid to explore cool characters whose backstories make no sense. So the whole crux of the Mandalorian story since he took over the Book of Boba Fett show is that he is a Mandalorian no more because he removed his helmet. And the only way to find redemption is to bathe in the
Waters beneath the mines of Mandalore.
You have to purify yourself in the waters of Lake Minnetonka. That ain't Lake Minnetonka.
That's the second time I've used that joke. I like it so much. Yes, for the Mandalorian to find redemption, he has to bathe in the lakes of his home planet that, as far as they know, no longer exists. Isn't that fascinating? a show about a bounty hunter that does no bounty hunting, on a quest to see if he can do a stupid ceremony that we don't care about, a religion he seemed to have abandoned so he could go off and be a father figure to Grogu. Now, if the story had had him stripped of his armor and living as an outcast where he can't work, it might make the need for redemption far more interesting. But he's living exactly how he was before he took his helmet off. He's even allowed to visit the other Mandos and hang out for a while. Nothing in his life has changed. Plus, he seemed to be moving on from the cult upbringing and realised the whole helmet thing might be a bit stupid, which was the only interesting part of the whole bloody story. What is his motivation or payoff for getting redemption? And I don't care if it's just important to him and his beliefs. That's not interesting for a sci-fi fantasy show. This isn't a doco, it's a made-up story about a made-up character with made-up beliefs. We as the audience need reasons for his need for redemption, for it to feel warranted. His reasons need to outweigh his want to care for Grogu, because I'm pretty sure once he's back in the cult, they're going to make him boot that little green frog. But all that would take some writing effort. And the only effort going into this show is how to get to the next Grogu looking cute scene. So we're just given this dumb redemption quest, which cancels out any growth we saw from him for the last 2 seasons. So let's not have a show about a badass bounty hunter. Because, you know, the A-Team would have been so much better if they dropped all that Soldiers of Fortune crap and focused on whether B.A. Baracus could find faith and have his first communion while babysitting a lizard.
And that probably won't happen.
Now, most religions wouldn't have survived if they relied on still having their original locations that their beliefs sprung up from.
The Imperial interlopers destroyed all that we knew and loved in the Night of 1,000 Tears.
And seeing as the living lakes were blown up, it makes sense that the Mandalorians have found a new body of water for their Mando creation ceremonies. We see a child being baptized into the cult with the waters from a new lake. But are we meant to believe that the lake waters here are good enough to conscript a young child and make them a Mandalorian, but the same lake can't be used to cleanse Mando of his sins? The huge sin of showing his face? Why have the glorious stash if he's not allowed to share it? The whole going back to the living lakes of his home planet makes as much sense as saying that every time a Catholic sins they have to fly to the Vatican to see the Pope, except the Pope's been blown up.
If I visit the planet and I can bring you proof that I have bathed in the living waters beneath the mines of Mandalore, the decree of exile will be lifted and I would be redeemed.
Ha! Gay!
Crazy cult leader and cult quest doesn't make fun TV. A crocodile creature the size of the small ones we let the kids ride in Australia bursts out of the water and the Mandos happily start blasting. Blaster fire seems to do very little in Star Wars these days because they blast the absolute shit out of that thing, even implant explosives straight onto it, and all that does is piss the thing off more. Yes, the laser fire and explosives do sweet FA. So then the Mandos decide to prove how stupid they all are by shooting the gigantic croc with cables they're attached to, as if they're going to be able to hold it down. Idiots. The massive croc monster just flings them around. This stupidity comes from a society that has obviously never tried to put a lead on a cat. Mando flies in to save the day and blows the beast up. I hope that Mando cave system has heaps of spots for the Mandos to sit on their own with their helmets off, because there's going to be crocodile steaks for everyone tonight. Mando pulls out a crystal that shows he may be able to get that useless redemption after all. How exciting. But he's going to need the help of an old friend. Here's Writing 101 for you. Christ, imagine how much it stinks in Mando's new ship. One of the cooler ideas from the first season of Mando was his ship, the Razor Crest. Very much like the Millennium Falcon before it, it added to the coolness of our character, roaming the universe and the ship he lives in, with no ties to anyone or any location. They showed he had sleeping quarters, weapon storage, and a massive toilet. The fact that he sometimes forgot that he had the ship with the massive guns was a bit stupid.
ATST.
Imperial Walker.
Now, there's nothing on this planet that can damage the lakes on this thing.
Also, the fact that he could rebuild it, ready for the vacuum of space within hours, that was also pretty stupid. But at least they'd gone to the effort of creating something new and giving Mando somewhere to live, and eat, and dump. Where does he do all that now? I just imagine the cockpit full of food wrappers and smelling like a pig slaughterhouse. I don't even know if Grogu's even house-trained, but I'm betting anything you wouldn't want to be standing too close to that ship when they land and open it up after a long journey. So Mando heads back to Navarro, which has turned into what looks like an offshoot of Disney's theme park Galaxy's Edge if Galaxy's Edge decide to cash in on the OT. Everywhere Mando and Grogu turn, we see reminders of much better Star Wars that didn't revolve around babysitting. In fact, nothing about this city looks the same. It's as if a lot of time has passed since we were last here.
Welcome to Navarro, independent trade anchor and outer rim hyperlane port.
Even the dialogue is implying it has been a long time since Mando was last in the city.
Let's catch up on old times.
How could this be? Well, this is Disney. Of course it can be. But I'll come back to that ridiculousn's.
Do you remember your old friend?
He wanted to fucking kill me.
Yes. Remember your old friend that wanted to put a bullet in your head? Yes, the old friend Mando needs is IG-11, the droid we saw self-destruct. L3, the love of Lando's life, was shot and couldn't be saved.
It's all right.
But IG-11 self-destructed in a huge explosion, and he's still got a chance.
I need him back. I need a droid I can trust.
Mando needs a droid he can trust. Aren't they all meant to be machines that you program? Just program a new one.
We've got plenty of droids around here. We'll find you one, I guarantee you.
And you only trusted IG-11 after he was reprogrammed. Why did Disney keep turning the servant robot into a fucking living being that should be cried over? They really have no idea.
Oh dear.
Wow! Check that out. The self-destruct bomb that was planted in IG-11's torso surprisingly only blew one arm off, because don't forget the lower half was melted by the lava. So that huge explosion
I must be destroyed.
was just one arm leaving his body. I'm surprised IG-11 even turned off, let alone killed multiple stormtroopers. How many people can you kill with the shrapnel from one arm? I'm surprised they didn't see him laying there.
I'm still alive. If you just come and get me. I'm over here. I just lost an arm, that's all. Please help.
But again, and I've said it many times before, these creators are just making live-action cartoon Star Wars. And just like a trashy cartoon, it's a new story every week. Nothing in previous episodes matters. 2-season build-up to getting Grogu to Luke with a dramatic conclusion, and Grogu is just back with no explanation. Unless you watch another show which still didn't have a good explanation. Mando takes off his helmet to show he's moving away from his cult upbringing. Then Mando's trying his hardest to get back into the cult. IG-11 disintegrated. Near complete IG-11 laying on table. A dumb show for dumb minds. And it's not as if they're trying to fill a 26-episode season. 8 episodes and this is the quality we're getting. It's just a very expensive ad for Galaxy's Edge. IG-11 wakes up and also ignores Season 1 and the fact that he was shot in the head and reprogrammed.
You'd had to learn everything from scratch.
And goes back to wanting to kill Grogu. We then witness our feared legendary Mandalorian having trouble shooting a slow-moving lump across the floor. It's only a couple of feet in front of him. And even when shots do hit IG-11, we are again shown how weak blasters have become because they do no damage. A little bit different to the first season's single-shot kill. Luckily for Mando, who now is starting to look as pathetic as Disney's Boba Fett.
Mando, shoot it! Shoot it!
The $2 store C-3PO droid saves the day by crushing IG-11's head, which I'm sure will be able to be repaired. But the one lesson Mando doesn't learn from all this is that you can trust other droids. So go get a new one for God's sake. Doesn't this knockoff C-3PO just sum up Disney Star Wars? I take an original idea and somehow just crapify it.
I think he defaulted to his old programming.
You think?
Oh, yes. Not only is he useless with a gun, he now has to explain exactly what we just witnessed. Storytelling for dummies.
We're not friends anymore. Memory circuit broken.
He says the memory circuit is shot.
Well, put in a new one.
He needs a new memory circuit. Wouldn't a new memory circuit eliminate the trust Mando has in him? As in that it won't be the same droid he knows? But then again, why am I doing this? Why am I trying to make sense of this shit? I skipped over an odd earlier scene where some pirates, who look like rejects from the Pirates of the Caribbean, start causing a problem because they want to go drink in what's now a school that used to be a bar.
We drink here.
Very strange Rain Man problem to have.
Join us for a drink.
This is a school.
We drink here.
Do you know what autistic is?
I mean, they could just go to where the bar is, but, you know, some reason they want to hang around with the kiddies.
Is there a problem here?
Not if you serve me a drink.
Not in my school.
Do you know what autistic is?
The great thing about this scene is that it also demonstrates that absolutely no one is intimidated by the presence of a Mandalorian. But luckily for the kiddies inside, Greef Karga, with the help of Mando, decides to protect the innocence of the school children by killing all the pirates and leaving their bodies on the street in full view. Well, not quite all the pirates. They did do the cliche letting the real bad one live so he can go on to fight another day, which he does with his dog friends in a space shootout. And because we have long established that Lucasfilm creators are a bunch of uncreative morons, they decide to further copy the Pirates of the Caribbean and have a watery seaweed-covered character that would make sense in the ocean. They have that, but in space. Yes. Yes, the pirate space leader is covered in moss and vegetation. These uncreative hacks can't even copy other people's work properly. Morons. It would have made just as much sense if they had Pizza the Hut.
Pizza the Hut!
The only thing is, Pizza the Hut was meant to be a joke. Well, he wouldn't have been in this show. Then our next stop on the Mandalorian's Please Don't Cancel Disney Plus promo video, we're off to visit Bo-Katan, a character I was actually interested in. Well, I was. Bo-Katan, like most of the Star Wars fans, has just given up.
I'm here to join you.
There's nothing left to join. Go home.
Star Wars. So how did so much happen between Season 2 of The Mandalorian and Season 3? How did all this happen within what should be weeks, if at most months, between Seasons 2 and 3? How much time has passed? Well, because this is Disney, they don't know how much time has passed. But you think it would be one of the first things they work out before writing starts?
Hey, what are you doing here?
I mean, I thought just dumping Grogu back with Mando in a completely separate show was lazy, pathetic, and a huge waste of opportunity.
But if you choose the lightsaber, you will be the first student in my academy.
But not knowing how much time has passed, shit. Time is the base building block for any story. When it's set, or how quickly time passes is fairly important to the audience. But especially in this case, when they are supposedly considering other characters in other shows and their own timelines. When first asked about the time confusion, the show creator and writer Jon Favreau said 2 years had passed, but he soon backtracked on that when he realised that made no sense whatsoever. And this is how he clarified it.
Because you said that Grogu was with Luke Skywalker for many years.
It's probably about the real time that we've experienced it. So it was the end of Season 2 when they said goodbye. We checked in the Book of Boba Fett about a year ago. I think somewhere in there, more than 1 and less than, somewhere between 1 and 2, 0 and 2 years.
Oh, so not that many years.
No, not that many.
Anywhere between 0 and 2 years. That's quite the difference. Jon Favreau, the saviour of Star Wars, is just now collecting checks and phoning it in. He doesn't give a shit.
Somewhere between 1 and 2, 0 and 2 years.
He doesn't know the time frame for his own story that he's writing. I can't wait.